As if 2020 wasn't bad enough, we are still walking through the valley of gray in 2021. So many of us feel broken. Where's the beauty in that? I'll explain how beauty is an inside job and how we can find it in this broken world next. Hi, I'm Heidi Tucker. Welcome to the Pickled Sunflower, where we can come together, make a connection, and find hope. You know, as little kids, we all fall down and we get bruised, and occasionally we break something. That's what happens, and generally we learn something. It's kind of a metaphor for the nature of life. We get bruised and battered. Sometimes those bruises in life put calluses on our hearts, and they harden our soul. We want desperately to walk through the valley of light. It's a place where blessings are apparent and we kind of just click through life at an easy pace. Then we get a year like 2020, right? Walking through the valley of gray. There's a pandemic, there is a hostile election, there's a broken economy. We have feelings of despair, we feel angry, sometimes we feel forgotten by God. And there's a huge financial stress as well as a health stress for many of us and many of our families. The unhealthy psychological reaction is to just bypass, is to just not let your emotions even address it. It's another word for that would be denial. But sometimes that's an emotional survival instinct for all of us. How do we find beauty in a broken world? Well, first of all, you need to recognize that beauty is an inside job. So in certain circumstances, you'll walk away from that dark situation and you think about how you cope and what your feelings are, what your takeaway is from that. Look back and mentally reframe it. Sometimes it's really hard in the actual moment, but certainly if you look back, you can add some light to that darkness. If you spiritually reframe it, it's even more powerful. It's recognizing the brokenness and sitting in the ugliness of it all, but being able to see some sort of a beautiful design. So you have to kind of step back, or often we have to take an eternal perspective. Here's an example from early this morning. I made it. I hiked in the snow to the top of this mountain this morning. When I started, it was 12 degrees. I think it's a bit warmer now because the sun has come up over the ridge. And so I'm feeling that sun on my face. It feels so good because it's so cold out here. My hands hurt. There are pollution warnings in the city, in the valley. I know that when I look down off this mountain and I can see in front of me, thousands of houses, I know that there's COVID down there. There's COVID in that valley. I know that the hospital is almost full. The ICU beds are taken. There are real difficulties. There are struggling restaurants in this valley. There are difficulties and struggles with so many families right now. And so I could say this is a broken day in a broken city. And that could be accurate, right? In some sense, that's really a true statement. But I choose to mentally and to spiritually reframe that thought. As I hiked up this mountain this morning, I can feel it right now. There is a sticker in my sock around the ankle bone, and it poked me the whole way up. I got to go home and find it and get rid of it. But when I got to the top of this mountain, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm grateful that I have socks. I have warm socks. The whole way up, I thought about the sticker. But as soon as I got to the top, I thought, I'm grateful for the socks, keeping my feet warm in this snow as I trudge through this snow. You look at those snow-capped mountains back here behind me. How beautiful are those? You know, I'm grateful for the beauty that is in this earth that God created. And when I get to the top of mountains, and this is why I hike and I walk, I feel so much closer to God when I'm out here. And so I'm grateful for beauty. I'm grateful for beauty in a broken world. As an inspirational author, what I do is write about brokenness. In my own first book, Finding Hope in the Journey, lots of personal examples of difficult struggles that I have been through, as well as those close to me, and how they found beauty within that. My second book, Survey's Song, beautiful woman, beautiful story about her rising up from the ashes of despair and clinging to her faith. But in particular, this third book, of The Secret Keepers. It's an amazing true story that's tragic and triumphant both. In this book, we learn about Margie, and Margie as a child encountered incredible, horrific abuse and trauma as a very young girl. And as a result of that, she developed dissociative identity disorder called DID, used to be called multiple personality disorder. Her mind couldn't conceive of everything that was happening to her and truthfully couldn't even survive that. And so as a result of that trauma and abuse, her mind split into several parts, and each of those parts took pieces of her abuse so that she could endure that process and that she could literally survive. So there's two ways to look at it, right? Her mind, is it broken or is it a beautiful design? I believe God created her beautiful mind with the ability to split off and to save her life. It's an incredibly moving story about her ability to cling to her faith and to find the courage to rise up from those circumstances and then go on to have a family of her own. And we see the difficulties with the DID as well as the beauty in it. If you're interested in any of these books, I'll link them down below. If you're interested in a really inspirational, uplifting read, everything that I write and speak about is always centered on hope. You know, life is just a lot, right? The older we get, the more we experience broken things and broken circumstances. We need to each embrace those things in our lives and then add our own light. God will help you to find those silver linings. There is a pattern, and you see it often in the people that I write about in my books. There is a pattern for happiness and for peace and for finding hope in the most desperate, dire of circumstances. We all have the ability inside to find beauty in a broken world. We can all do that together. And I hope that you find this channel inspiring as we sort of do that together and find light and find hope and remind ourselves that we all matter. Please subscribe below if you're interested in finding out about all of my videos. I put new ones out every single Tuesday. It's my mission to add a little bit of hope and a little bit of light to everybody's life. We'll see you here next time, here on the Pickled Sunflower.